Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing. I think we are live. All right. Welcome everyone. Very, very happy to start this live stream. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm really, really excited to finally have the time to do it, and of course, to manage to convince one of the masters of 3D sculpting and digital creation, really, to come along. So today's going to be pretty chill. I want you guys to, it's not like a workshop that you have to follow along or anything like that. It's going to be really relaxed. We're going to get a bunch of tips and a bunch of knowledge from the source straight away from Gio Nakpil himself. I always mispronounce. Sorry about that. But yeah, so let me introduce him, and we're gonna get started. Basically, here we go, Mr. Gio Nakpil. Thank you so much for joining us. So Gio is the head of visual development and worldwide Substance 3D evangelist. And like I said, he's to me is like one of my idols in terms of 3D sculpting. So thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I've been following your stuff for a long time, and for the past few months where we've been collaborating in little bits and pieces. It's really, it just shows like how open you are to share your knowledge and to share the stuff that you have online, which is absolutely fantastic. So please, everyone, feel free to leave your comments, and if you have questions, we'll ask Gio along the way. So welcome, Gio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and you are too kind. Thank you so much for involving me here, and giving me the opportunity to be a part of your live stream. So I'm very excited. And talk about following work. I've followed yours, and also the generous resources you've been sharing to the community, which is one of the best things out there to see. An artist such as your caliber sharing resources for us to be better at what we do. So thank you for that.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much as well. So for those of you who don't know, there's a Gio brush. We'll share the link later on. The Gio brush,
which I use a lot. So.
Yes, it was kind of like a tribute brush, because like the forms and the cleanness, but like the complexity of the anatomy and how Gio builds his forms. That's what I'm like really looking forward to see today as well. So I have my notepad next to me. I'm going to be taking some notes as well. But yeah, thank you so much again. Yeah. I just want to make sure that we are live in all the channels, just in case I don't want to miss any comments. But yeah, it looks like it's working on YouTube and Facebook, and I think Instagram as well. So it's all good. We have like all those sources. So we'll be checking comments and questions that you might have in those platforms. So feel free to ask in anywhere. And for those of you, because I know this is going to be asked quite a bit, this is going to be recorded, and hopefully hopefully the tech doesn't disappoint us and goes well, and we can re-upload it afterwards. So anyone that cannot watch it right now live, we'll be able to watch it later. All right, so I'm just going to stop talking, otherwise I'll continue to talk too much. I'll let you, kick off things. Eman, if you want to, by the way, just so you know, backstage we have the man himself, Eman, helping us with all this stuff as well. So shout out to him. So if you can sort of share the QR that Gio gave us, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So I figured we just keep it very casual. I'm here essentially to show modeler, Substance 3D modeler, but also want to use this time to talk about the process of art, not just in how I do it in modeler, but also just anywhere. It could be ZBrush, modeler, Maya, just how I think about forms and maybe even design. So I kind of just want to keep it organic. And I don't know, Pablo, if there's any questions you can, you think it's relevant as I'm doing a demo, feel free to ask. We don't have to wait until at the end or something. So, kind of keeping it like more of a conversational kind of live stream. But with regards to that QR code up there, it is the link to Modeler's free beta page. So If after this live stream you're interested, if you haven't been using it yet, if you're interested to try out Modeler, I've somehow convinced you to or piqued your interest, you can go to that link over there and try it out. It's free if you have, I believe, an Adobe account. But all of the information is in there on that page to get you started. So should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, please. Thank you so much. Yeah. So yeah, I will leave this one here just for a little bit while you talk, so that people can have a chance to scan it. But yeah, just go ahead and get started.
Yeah. All righty. Okay, so Modeler, here it is. Essentially, I should have rehearsed this part a little bit more. I went a bit too casual, but essentially it's our 3D modeling solution at Substance 3D. And as you can see, just kind of touching on just the app itself before we even put any 3D elements in it. It's designed fairly simple and optimized UI wise, So it's with the intention of really keeping it simple and approachable, so that you're able to just do all the things that you could do with utmost quickness. We have our whole host of tools here that you can check out, which are the clay tools, which are the primitives. I won't go through all of them. Like, these are the warp tool, build up. We'll use them organically as I'm doing the demo. But as you can see, like, this is the main sort of tools outline, and then you have your actions menu here. And essentially within Modeler, there are two types of primitives. One is the clay primitive, which is the and Pablo, I've seen you kick butt and start using it. So if you want to jump in and want to add something as I'm talking through, I don't want to be the only one talking here.
Fair enough. I think I have my questions more than anything, but yeah.
So what's great about clay is that Modeler is essentially an SDF modeling app. So we're not really limited to polygons in the sense that you have to kind of constrain yourself to the topology of the surface. You can push and pull.
Is it like the Vox modeling, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can just erase without, again, having to worry about edges, topology, vertices turning into like skewed surfaces and stuff like that. So let's adjust the material here really quick. Okay, so edit properties.
Yeah, I do like the standard material that like, for the most part, it's just like a clay material. Yeah, I love that one. But with the new non-destructive workflow with the primitives, I find like any sort of shiny material works really well, just to judge how things are blended together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and I'm using because for the public build, we're constantly updating that. So what you're seeing here may look different from the public build, but essentially I'll just be showing the the essence of the tool anyway, and maybe some of these may look different, but regardless, like what you were saying with the primitives here. So we have what I was showing earlier was the clay, which is sort of the more sculptable clay, like real clay geometry. And we now have the what we're calling, delete that, what we're calling the primitives, non-destructive primitives. So with this one, I can unclick that and then go back to it and continue to modify the parameters, right? So
this is great.
I could do roundness. Let's increase the resolution here. So just like any other modeling app, you can increase and decrease the resolution. You could do fillet or fillet or fillet.
Like,
I
yeah,
don't
I don't know.
exactly know.
Feel it. I do pronounce
Fillet.
the T at the end.
Yeah. And then say I'm going to duplicate this. Control D. Choose a different type.
Yeah, there we go.
Different type of primitive, and then from there, you could do blends and still continue to move it around.
That's
which
amazing.
is amazing,
Yeah.
And what you were saying with the material, it's really fun once you get into the like when you're analyzing the surface of the geometry. You start increasing the specularity and the fall off, kind of like a machined model, because from there you can kind of.
It's amazing. Yeah, like it, because to me this feels like a great solution, because I've been using booleans for a while now, especially for hard surface. That ZBrush is fantastic for that type of stuff. But the thing that I find like really tricky is that transition between the two forms, because you get like a sharp edge no matter what you try to do, right? Even if it's like a couple of spheres. So this blending tool is fantastic.
Yeah, and with this you can even use the repetition tools here. Let's see, radial repetition. Let's increase that to say 9. You start playing with it. Like say you wanna do a blend or maybe even a carve. So right here, you have your different modes of combine. So let's go with a carve. And within that, once you start playing around with the chamfer tools, like you're really getting into like some really powerful ways to start using the instance repetitions.
And exploring shapes.
Yeah, explore. That's exactly what I love doing here. From there I could like duplicate it again, and then do sort of like another blend.
Yeah, that's amazing.
and then you're continuing to duplicate it again, maybe blend to 0, use a carve, and instead of a circle, you can kind of just, again, you can kind of continue to just refine and explore. I'll actually open up a model that I was playing around with.
Great. Yeah. In the meantime, maybe I can ask you a couple of questions that are already popping up.
Yeah, of course.
So someone's asking, let me just see. So Mr. J is asking, is there an outline in Modeler?
Yeah, there is, and I'll show you that.
Oh, that looks awesome, man.
So yeah, you have your outliner here, so within, and it's a little messy. I should have cleaned it up beforehand. But what's great about Modeler is you can choose to go through the outliner to select your shapes, or it was originally designed, and this was actually what I really loved about being a part of the early stages of Modeler, was I really got to see the design process that that the team, Anton and Joshua, who are the two geniuses, kind of along with like Lydia was heading up the group. But I got to work closely with Anton and Joshua as they were developing the philosophy of the UI and the viewport. And they built this without the outliner first. So the outliner came in fairly recently, right? So but how do you actually navigate through your scene without an outliner? And that's what the premise of Modeler was to really not have to be too reliant on an outliner. So you could have thousands of elements in your scene, and you could easily traverse any sort of hierarchy. Through scoping, hitting S in the keyboard and Alt S to kind of go in and out of of your hierarchy. And
Right.
that to me is such a great way to just kind of like not have to go, okay, well, what is this piece here again? Because I
Yeah, or
should have
groups.
named it groups and groups. Here I can just go hover on the area that I want, like say I want to go inside this hierarchy, so because I'm on the top node, hit
Yep.
S, select that. Okay, maybe instead of that, I can kind of like start messing around with a fillet
You
a
feel
little
like
bit more.
this is amazing. So all of this is done with the non-destructive primitives, right?
Yeah. So all of this is
Amazing.
just a series of non-destructive primitives, essentially. Like this one, and this is what's great about it is I can just kind of go in here, zone out, and kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just gonna play around and kind of like, okay, maybe I'm trying to kind of go for like I love the hard surface language of really old sewing machines, like the
Hmm.
Singers,
Yeah. Yeah.
in that sort of era of I guess industrial design, like maybe in the 20s, but kind of
Yeah.
giving it a
Yeah. Like
sci-fi look.
yeah. 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 Like what's the name? It's like this mixer machine as well that is like really
Yeah.
expensive, but it just like mixes like dough or something.
Yeah, the
So I think it's just a
Kenwood
mixer. I don't know.
Or like I forgot the name brand, but yeah, there's like a bowl here.
Yeah.
But for this one, I was going to do sort of like a saw, kind of like what you do in a shop, but maybe like
Hmm.
some mechanical spider fingers here, so it's kind of like a little bit of sci-fi.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to show this because again, like, okay, I'm gonna just go, okay, here I want to adjust this, kind of
Yeah.
just like start again, really exploring shapes, right? Like, and then duplicate that. Oops. Duplicate. And I'm just using a low resolution right now, obviously, so for speed, but I could
Mhm.
just go in there and upres that a little bit more.
Oh, that's actually a question that I had. In terms of the resolution, I've been working like that as well. Like I work with a bit of low resolution, pretty much like I treat Dynamesh, let's say, in ZBrush. So when you increase the resolution, do you retain the same sort of like faceted polygons, or it automatically knows like, okay, this is a cylinder. I want more resolution. Let's make it a clean cylinder. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's exactly that.
Ah,
Especially with
fantastic.
CSGs, because, and I'm probably not the best one to speak of this, but from what I hear is that these are infinite resolutions. Like mathematically, these CSG primitives, as what they call
Okay.
it, you could have like an infinite number of resolutions. So you could just continue to upres this probably at a like, I don't know to what accuracy, but to a very
Yeah.
accurate level. I mean, as you can see here, this is a pretty
Clean.
clean compared to this one, right? So I'm kind of
Yeah.
just choosing, and that's what I do with characters too. Like I put all the resolution I have with the head, and then the
Hmm.
body can be a little bit more low res, right?
Right.
It's just kind of like, I know my computer can handle it, but
Yeah.
I
It's
don't want
easier.
to, yeah, just
Easier.
because I don't want to spend all the money if, I could put some in the bank, I guess is my
Yeah. Fair
philosophy.
enough.
I don't know if
Fair
that makes
enough.
sense.
And I
Um,
think what you just showed it before, it sort of like speaks to that sculpting philosophy that you were mentioning before about, you can create a lot of complexity with very simple forms, and the fact that you can easily adjust them after you place them, it's
mhm.
it's it's freedom.
Yeah, exactly. It totally is. Oops, I must have duplicated this many times. Exactly. And you're kind of just choosing to do what, kind of like selectively just picking and choosing what you want.
Right.
So this one I'm showing because this was sculpted all in regular clay, not using
Okay.
the CSG primitives. So I wanted to make the distinction between what is CSG and what isn't. So for CSG, what we were just seeing with the sort of like futuristic sewing machine,
Hmm.
um, between the two, CSGs, you cannot use any of the sculpting tools. Um,
Right.
so, so like you can continue to, select, unselect, and then and then modify. Whereas I'm going to go ahead and create a regular clay primitive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a regular clay primitive, which you have all these parameters as well, but you only have these available before you hit the space bar, which is apply. So before you commit to the canvas, let's say,
Right.
right, by hitting space bar, you can adjust it. But once you hit the space bar, that's it.
You can only
Imagine
scale
that
it.
being, yeah, you can only scale it, exactly, move it around, obviously, or start now treating it like actual
Ah,
clay, where
right.
you're starting to, just manipulate all the surface in ways that are familiar, based on other sculpting apps.
Mm-hmm.
For this one, you can, the strength of Modeler is, there's a lot of sort of non-destructive primitive modelers out there, but none can really, offer the sculptability. So
Mm-hmm.
meaning, once I'm happy with, say, this one, imagine this being a much more complex, say, let's add a little bit more kind of pizzazz to it. Let's say this one. Oops, actually, hold on. Let me duplicate that.
And in the meantime, maybe I'll just see the chat for some questions, guys. So if you have anything to ask you, feel free to put it in there. There's a couple interesting ones. So Mr. J again is asking if Modeler is more focused on creating hero assets. I guess either way, right?
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's well, before I jump onto that, I just wanted to show that I converted the let me undo that really quick just to finish my train of thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
you convert it to clay.
Right.
But again, once you convert it to clay, that's it. So what I would do is do all of the things that's hard to do with clay in non-primitive or in non-clay mode here, and then convert it and further refine it to get to a more sculptural look, like this kind of Power Rangery helmet that I have
Right,
here.
right. So would you say the primitives are in a way more geared towards more hard surface stuff, like more like hard surface beats, or you can still get a pretty organic stuff with the primitives before you turn them into like a clay stuff?
I would say it's geared more for hard surface, but lately I've been using it for and here I could demo it as I'm answering questions here, for more of kind of more character based stuff. And what's great about that is, say, I'm going to do sort of like the primary block out of a head, right? And as I'm doing this, I can answer the earlier question, if Modeler is designed only for, or sorry, what was it? The hero or non-hero?
Assets, yeah.
I think it's definitely, it depends, right? Because I think there's still, in my opinion, some limitations with SDF modeling in ways that, polygonal modelers still have the advantage over. And a lot of that is, polygonal modelers are already pipeline proven. A lot of pipelines use polygonal modelers. It's integrated, and it can often handle a lot more data. Like ZBrush is a beast when it comes to like handling all the polygons, right? And so Modeler, what's great about Modeler is it can handle the polygons, but I use it a lot more for primary, secondary, and tertiary sculpting. Like for me, it's like a beast when it comes to that. And then when it comes from time to start doing the surfacey type stuff or the refinement, I take it into ZBrush, or bring it back to modeler. So it's almost like a non-linear process, but I still
Hmm.
heavily rely on ZBrush for what it does best, which is handle all the polygons and just
And the
like push
detailing,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, the detailing. Use the Geo brush. You know what I'm saying? So,
Fair enough.
um, yeah. So if that answered your question, but it's definitely modeler is definitely able to do hero assets in
Hmm.
my opinion, and we have done it in past projects that we have done for GDC,
Right.
the group that I run. We've done like a lot of projects with high fidelity, and because sometimes you don't really need to push all the polygons in the world, right? Like you
Right.
could really, especially like for say a game asset, as
Hmm.
oftentimes you take it into Painter, and you start adding all of the tertiary or surfacey detail through there,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you're golden.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Because, for instance, this is something that I get asked as well often when it comes to these type of like tools that we have available to us, and rendering tools and all of that. Is like, oh, so if you use Modeler, then you don't use ZBrush, or which one is better? And it's a fair question. I just don't have like a straight answer to say, okay, this is better than the other. It's just like I feel they're just tools available to us, and the way that I've been playing around with Modeler and seeing how you use it as well is like a concepting tool. It's like very, very easy, very very, very liberal way to like explore shapes.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and once you log some ideas in, then you just go, okay, let's move into ZBrush and detail a little bit. But like you said, there's no like a linear workflow. So working that way, I think, is, or like at least understanding that concept that you're not locked into a tool. Like if you want to try that, by all means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep that in mind, that it's not like one is better than the other one, or if you are using Modeler, you're cheating on ZBrush, or vice versa. It's like
Exactly.
you use whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I definitely resonate with everything that you said there, Pablo, because we've seen it in the community where it's like either you only do this software or this software. It's like
Yeah.
there becomes this sense of tribalism, and me, yeah, I work with a modeler team, but I am still very much an artist, right? And
Hmm.
as an artist, even though I work with a modeler team, modeler is just a tool, just like a Kemper tool. Like it's a part of my
Right.
toolbox, a very important part of my toolbox. But so is Maya, so is ZBrush, so is
Exactly. Yeah.
what else? I mean, now Cinema 4D, After Effects. Like I'm constantly building my suite of tools to do exactly what I want.
Hmm.
Now, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm not doing a pretty good job, but like you can start blocking in the sort of like a skull structure. That what I love about this is if I do have a file I was working on. It was sort of like a
Hmm.
primary breakdown of a face. You can kind of start moving it around, squashing and stretching it based on facial proportions.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's almost like a template for
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So what once you have that non-destructive template, like, and
Hmm.
again, I should have like prepped that up for this demo. I'll most likely share it online somewhere. But once you have that template, imagine if this is a skull, you can kind of just like start moving around the zygomatic arch, the width of the orbit, sockets, and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's amazing.
it's mainly used for hard surface, which clearly it's great for that. But I'm trying to um, treat it as sort of a also why not for characters as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you just showed, it's pretty good. There's a
Mm-hmm.
question as well from Strateria. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
Strateria, hello,
Yeah.
hello, hello. I know you.
Can I carve a pattern on the surface?
Yes. Actually, I'll show a way to do that. Just wanted to continue to kind of show my past modeler escapades here.
Yep. That's so cool, that model.
Oh, thank you.
Is that the one that they printed out as well in 3D?
What was it?
Or
No,
was it
I
a
don't think.
different?
I don't
Oh
think
no,
this
it was
was printed out.
your Lagoon monster.
Yeah, the Lagoon
Yeah,
Monster
yeah.
that by Mimaki. The folks at
Yeah.
Mimaki printed that out. But this one was done before actually even any gizmo. I just used like the regular warp tool with a hardness to 100 to move stuff around. But this was
Amazing.
essentially, like awesome to kind of just like get down with Modeler and do something that's both a like a hard surface and sort of like a creature
Organic.
creature organic shape. And this is so just switching modes here, modeler and render,
Okay.
or model and render. So render gives you the ability to adjust your camera field of view, which model also does. You can adjust that on your camera, but in render mode, you have the real-time shadows, so you can start doing depth of field here.
Oh, I didn't know that, man. That's so cool.
So when you're presenting, so your final piece, or you want to just kind of visualize it in a much better way, you can actually start, setting focus. Like say, this eye is the focus, and then you can just kind of like blur everything here. So it looks.
It's all about presentation, right?
Yeah. Gotta, for social medias, you gotta.
Yeah. You gotta crank up the shadows and the
get those.
That's
likes.
Good, man. That's really good.
So actually, patterns are actually really cool to show in Modeler. I'll actually do it on say we're doing a pottery, like a plant, a pottery for a plant, I should say. And then we're going to be doing some patterns all around this. Let's see. Let's do it in clay. So I'm like, oh, what should I?
Too many tools available now.
Too many tools. Yeah. So we'll do, say, let's change the material. I don't know why it's red. Let's say kind of like earthy, like
clay
type stuff, and then increase the resolution a little bit here. So I'll kind of show you just how clay-like Modeler is. Oh, maybe one more. So stamp that in. Maybe reset, and then hitting tab will allow you to toggle between negative, subtractive, and additive.
Right.
So let's do, actually, I'm going to duplicate that, scale it inwards, and then I just wanted to show in clay mode, you also have the ability to have live booleans. So as you can see here, you can move it around just like the non-destructive primitives. So
yeah, I've been using this one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And one thing I like as well about what you're doing right now is if you have like multiple pieces, and this is something I discovered recently, you can actually, when you have a boolean, you can select which ones you want the boolean to affect and apply it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it doesn't, exactly. Let me undo that. So it doesn't, so right now it's still in, this geometry is still in Boolean form. It doesn't get rid of it. So you could literally just keep that in a group and back it up somewhere, or clear it and then choose to have this to be the Boolean, so it's one of the best designed Boolean systems that I've seen. And I've used a bunch.
It's really good.
Yeah. So for patterns, let's do a something around this pot. Let's see. I was going to do some anatomy things, but this is also very fun, actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to see if you have any character stuff a bit later to show.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll do.
Sweet.
We'll do some hardcore character work here. So say there, and then and what I was showing earlier is with the let's see, I'm trying to figure out what type of pattern we could do. Say maybe
and how do you map it to that normal of the surface?
Oh, by hitting G. So
okay.
G is, it constrains the clay to the surface, right?
There we go. Here's another golden nugget.
Yeah, so G and then hitting G and G again toggles between gizmo and surface constraint, which is here.
Right,
So
right.
gizmo and surface constraint.
Yeah.
And let's see.
I've seen
Actually,
this tool, but in the VR mode. I didn't know how to activate it in the
oh yeah,
desktop.
yeah. So
Look at
so what
that.
I did was radial symmetry. I turned it into a radial symmetry with a value of, let's say, maybe 4, not as much as 5. So you can kind of just like start doing that.
So cool.
And then from there, what you could do, you could add on a radial repetition. Let's see if this will work actually. Oops. Radial repetition. How come it didn't work? Oh, not that one. Sorry.
Would it have to be a separate sort of piece?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I didn't do a. Did that do it? Oh, there we go. All right, so we have this now. So I'm trying to do a pattern.
There we go. I think that's one of the things that I at the beginning I struggle with the most, like the difference between symmetry and repetition.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just thought, like I thought about it a little bit more, and it does make sense when you think about it. That symmetry has to do with the object that you're kind of like editing itself, or like kind of like in edit mode, and then the repetition is like when you are in object mode. For those who are familiar with those terms, I think it's works pretty well.
Yeah, it's it took a while for me to figure out as well. But then from like you could just like do different patterns, and what's great about it is I'm in warp right now. I'm also able to do my tool as a radial symmetry, so I'm actually evenly affecting. Let's increase the resolution. It's a bit too low.
Yeah, all at the same time.
Yeah. So, but we can go back to like more specific patterns and stuff like that. But yeah, I've done a lot of fun patterns with modeler, because then from this one you can convert this into a Boolean or an not intersect. Sorry. What do you call it? Subtract.
Yeah.
And and select your clay, hit apply, and then delete your as you can see, like I could have sculpted it better on the surface, but you can kind of start
some sort of scales as well.
Yeah, some scales and stuff like that. You could even do like actual protruding elements. But yeah, so patterns,
and
modeler's powerful for.
Fantastic. I guess like you could, like you said, you have radial symmetry with the tool. So if you were to use, let's say in VR, for instance, the clay tool to add, or like it's called clay, like the build up clay type of tool. Oh, like the surface one?
The surface tools, yeah.
Yeah, the surface tool. You could potentially do the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool, man.
You could draw, yeah. So this is like a lot of my stuff, it's work in progress. I haven't, like
I wish my final ones looked like your work in progress, man.
Oh no, man. I wish I would do final ones like what you do, because what you do is amazing, man. I'm kind of like oftentimes stuck in this limbo of like forums, right? And this is sort of like where I really kind of like to stay in, honestly, like in this sort of like forum exploration, which I'll show you the process later. But yeah, so just kind of like showing some of the character stuff that I've been doing.
And all of this is done in Modeler, right? Everything.
Oh, sorry.
Everything is done in Modeler, even the character.
Yeah. Done in Modeler, and then so this is before I did any of the surface tools, which I'll demo now. So we have build up, familiar ones that in feel and in in the name. So you have your buildup, you have your crease tool here. So hitting tab makes it go subtractive or
Hmm.
additive. So you have
This
that.
this this your Geo brush.
I was gonna say, like, I'm waiting on a Geo brush there.
An update. Oh, by the way, how do you change the size of the brush dynamically, like quickly, like that?
Yeah. So let me see. Okay, it's control.
Control, okay.
Yeah, hitting control, you can change dynamically
Oh
the
yeah,
size.
like
Yeah,
like in Substance Painter.
yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
they copied the
Nice.
what do you call it? The same kind of ways of.
Hmm.
So you
Oh,
have
okay,
you.
so what you're doing there, I think someone asked about this.
Mhm.
So that's good that you're kind of answering. I can't see it right now, but basically they were asking about if there is a way to add your own alphas and objects. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah. So you could literally just load in your alpha here and start dragging. I don't know why I messed around with the settings. So
Yeah,
like the height, obviously you can adjust the height position of the displace and do a fall off as well. So right now hardness is at 100. So yeah,
there we go.
so
Hmm.
you have your own set of. Wow, I'm really doing some improvements on this
Yeah, it
crab
looks
right
much better
here. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good form brush. Like some ideas there, I can kind of like
to explore. Yeah.
yeah, to explore. Huh. All right, keeping note of that one. And then you have the flatten tool, which all of this you can use them in VR, and they take on a different personality, which is what I'll
Right.
show later. Because we're also used to the build up, the flatten,
Hmm.
the pinch crease. But man, in VR, it
Yeah.
just when it's attached to your hand and you're able to freely control it, that's when it becomes like exciting.
Yeah, I would say that VR, like that, the way that this works in VR, it sort of like changed the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's I tried it like for the first time and I was like, nah, this is really complicated. And then another day I was like, okay, I need to get into this. And I tried it. And once you figure out the scope in and scope out, that was for me the revelation. You
Mm-hmm.
figure that out, and then it's so intuitive and you have so much control over everything. Especially there is the clay tool that you can sort of like I can't remember. It's kind of like a tube brush, but you can have like the two controllers and stretch it out and,
Oh
and
yeah,
bend
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh man, that
The
is
We're calling
it's
that. I'm calling that personally the water balloon brush, but it's.
yeah,
I think they're calling it the
yeah.
spline primitive, right?
That to me is like yeah. There's not going back.
Yeah. So I get a lot of questions about. Okay, so Gio, what's the point of VR? What's the point? So I'm gonna switch over to VR mode here really quick. Give me
Okay, cool.
10 seconds. I'm gonna awkwardly put on my headset here.
That's all good. In the meantime, let me just check if there's any questions. Guys, feel free to put them in. I think most of the questions are coming from YouTube, but I'll check the other channels as well.
Okay.
All good.
So can you all see this in
We
VR?
can, yeah.
Oh, you know what? Oh, we're still stuck on the crab, right, on the screen. Or can you
Yep.
see this scene that I have this new one?
No,
Let
we saw the screen before, but now we see the crab.
Okay, so I moved on to a different scene. Let me fix this really quick. Let me take off
Yep,
my headset
all
real
good.
quick.
Kurt is saying now we can see the screen again.
That's weird. Oh, you know what? It's weird that when I go to VR,
It switches to the previous one.
yeah, it switches to the crab. Huh. Hold on.
This is the beta.
Oh,
Maybe.
I know. Yeah, yeah. But it's not moving. Sorry, y'all. Well, I
All
need to
good, all
figure
good.
this out because I was going to do a demo in VR. Hold on.
Don't worry about it. In the meantime, maybe I'll just tackle some of the questions.
Yeah.
Because we, well, sorry, now I got my voice. Sorry about that. I've been sick for the past week, so this is like,
Oh.
the last bits of the call. But well, Gio figures this out. We have like some amazing news coming, so I'm gonna hold on to those news for a bit. But once we reveal them, you'll see it is 100% worth it that you had stayed in the live stream, because they're like fantastic. But yeah, so there's some questions about. So Ernst is saying, Gio, are you going to talk about doing stuff like the car you did? So I think that's kind of like what we're doing at the moment. And yeah, there we go. So now we can see in VR
Oh, okay. All right.
the
All right.
stuff.
I just had
All
to
right, cool.
create a new
So
camera. Yeah.
back to you. Oh, was it a camera stuff?
It was still a bug, but how I got rid of it was I created so you could create a new camera, and it's a
Okay.
first person steadied camera, which is great because it's easy on the eyes. Like it's not
Yeah. Okay.
attached to the head. There's like as you can see, there's like a drag, like a lazy mouse kind of a
Okay.
drag to it.
Yeah. So for recording would be much better.
Yeah, for recording, it's not like when I'm after drinking coffee, I'm like the
Yeah.
head's like all over the place here. But sorry, you were saying something, Pablo, before
Yeah, I kind of remember. Oh, yeah. So I was trying to answer that question. But yeah, so Gio's gonna talk about all the stuff, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna look into some of the creature stuff in just a bit. Because again, I think that one of the stuff that you're gonna show us later, it goes hand in hand with one of the cool news that we're gonna share soon. So for now, let's just focus on the intro to the VR stuff. Looks amazing and so intuitive.
So with this, I just wanted to again, like in the topic of VR. So as you can see, as you saw, a modeler, we were in desktop mode, because I think the perception out there is, but modeler only works in VR. So, that's still sort of a hard sell for people to get into something so new. But it's both. So it's desktop and VR modeling. And the great thing about VR modeling is, you have your tools attached to your hand, and it's really hard to explain it unless you're in here. But these characters, especially if I scale them as tall as I am, feels like I'm in there with them, like I'm working on a mannequin or a doll. So I can just kind of and what's great about Modeler too is notice how it retained its symmetry even though it's not in 0, 0 anymore. I could literally just go to this little kid's hierarchy, and it preserves all the symmetry settings. And I could do that, say with any of the other items, make it off symmetry. It'll still preserve symmetry. So that's really cool. But with VR, I'm there, and I'm kind of just like working on this thing in the context of my eyes, the camera settings of my eyes, right? So I'm there, kind of like, okay, if this is going to be 3D printed, really big, fabricated at, I don't know, some gentle giant or something, let's say, I know that this character is going to look the way it will look when it's printed, because there's no question. Like I'm looking at it in whatever scale that it's going to be printed, not some arbitrary camera angle setting or whatever, right? And then I'm there in the environment as well. So I'm going to open up one more scene, and then we'll do a demo.
And this one, I think another great thing about this is that, like you said, you feel that you're in the scene. So judging proportions and kind of like I did once for another concept that I was trying with Modeler, like this sort of like a speeder, like one of those like flying little spaceship, like personal, Star Warsy type of thing. And I was sitting on the motorbike type of thing, like in the cockpit. And then being able to be there, it's sort of like you stretch your arms and like, okay, yeah, the character can definitely reach out to the steering wheel and that sort of thing. So it just gives you another perspective in terms of like how you set up things and the proportions and the distance between the objects, and it's just fantastic.
It really is.
another thing that I found like really interesting, I did a test the other day where I was just like standing on a blank scene, and I used the normal clay tool where you just kind of like draw stuff, and I trace an outline of my body. So I started from the
Mhm.
from the foot, and then went up, and that gave me like the perfect scale, or like the 1-to-1 scale to a human of
Oh,
my
that's a
height.
great idea. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then so I just have like a little, like a doodle, like a skeleton of myself, and then I started working around it. So that was pretty cool. Which is something that is not as easy or impossible to do in other medium that you're not in, literally in immersed as VR.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's exactly that. And once you have that established, you can base the scale of. I'm just loading this because it's an environment I wanted to show
Hmm.
off. Like if you were to do that here and kind of establish the scale of yourself in comparison to the house, you're always
Yeah.
measuring against that outline. Hold on, let me just adjust some
Oh
of
wow,
the.
that's a massive scene.
So it's a yeah. I went a little bit overboard on the
As you do.
the um the
but
polygon
this is
data.
but this is a great example as well. Like, if let's say if you're working on an asset that you're not, or an asset that you're not gonna see from every angle, you will see, you position yourself in that scene. It's like, you won't see anything past this point, and there's no point modeling it. Let's say if you're
Yeah,
doing something more practical.
yeah, exactly. You're kind of like, I'm always like, stingy when it comes to poly budget. Like, so I'm
Yeah.
always like, if I don't need to see the polygons in an area, then I'm not gonna model it. Um, but yeah, this one I did this car in modeler. This was before the primitives, and so all this house essentially was blocked out in VR.
Amazing.
And so what's great about it. So if I go to VR now, hold on. Every time I need to put on my helmet, I gotta take off my earphones here really quick. Hold on.
No worries. And it's still like really really clean. I mean, that's one thing that I mean, I've tried creating something like I said, like a spaceship type of thing in VR. So, fairly hard surface, but not as clean as this, man. That this is it. I wouldn't think that this is done in VR, to be honest.
Yeah, no, this was. Yeah. Wait, can you still see it? Can you?
Yep. It's
Oh,
now
hold
now
on.
we can.
Can you see my head move though?
Yep. You're
Okay,
in
good.
VR.
All right. So, like, I'm here in front of this door, and it feels like I'm in the like I'm here. I'm in this
Yeah.
house,
You
and
can
I
knock on the
can
door.
I can knock on the door, and I can just go in there. I'm gonna modify this
Ye-
face a little
Yeah.
bit more. So no outliner, right? So I'm kind of just like with. I don't think you could see the joystick kind of move, but I'm going up and down trying to search it in the
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 hierarchy of the.
hierarchy. Yeah, because there's a
Yeah.
lot here. So
Hmm.
maybe I should zoom out a little bit. Oh, there we go. So I pointed it to the face. So now I'm in that hierarchy, without ever
Hmm.
having to open the outliner, which is like, this was
Yeah.
before outliner when I made it. So I was kind of like, kind of start, continue to model it, right?
Yeah.
As
That's
well as with
amazing.
any other of these elements. So yeah, and that to me is the power of VR. Really, is you're in there. Say this was all done using linked geometry. So if I modify,
Oh wow.
right, so if I start adding patterns, uh,
So is that like an instance sort of thing?
yeah. So all this,
Okay.
so I made it modular. So this group of windows, I turned it into a linked instance group.
Okay.
And you can turn anything into a linked instance as a group or as individual pieces within a group. But the great thing about that is when you start copying it, um, you can you start altering. If I change this into like say
Hmm.
there's a design element here,
Right.
it updates on all of
So
them.
all the columns and everything.
Yeah, those are instance. These are instance. Because I'm lazy, I want to be I want to be able to just kind of like
I would do the
modify
same thing.
one. So, but yeah, so this was mostly all done in VR. A lot of it was in desktop as well. This was a hybrid of both. But yeah, so
Amazing
yeah.
stuff, man. And I think like for instance the tiles on the roof and stuff like that, that's if you could do that sort of like with linked geometry like you said, it could be like a really cool way of doing like scales and creatures or like that sort of
Mhm.
repetitive patterns, and you just change one. It's like now it is a spike instead of being a flat scale or something.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
imagine if you're doing a dragon, right? All these are
Yeah.
instance geometry, and you group it like say the scales for the head, which are maybe spikier. Those are like sort of like a certain group of scales that are instance, and then different ones. So if you start
Hmm.
adding like horns, and we can demo that later on. I think that's always a fun demo to do, sort of like a lizard-like character.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but let's
Yeah.
switch modes to more character-based stuff. I'll start talking about creatures and forms, right? So
Sweet. So maybe
let
this
me
is a good time for like kick off with the big news. You feel all right to let everyone know
yeah,
about
let me just take off my headphones and headset and open up a new scene here really quick. But yeah,
all
hold
good.
on.
All right, guys. So before we jump into this part of the live stream, the demo bit, so we have like some pretty exciting news in general. Like I have like I have two big news or two sets of news. So the first news that I'm really excited about is that we are going to open the Extra Mile course in a
Oh,
week.
Pablo, you're cutting out. Is it my connection or
Can you guys still hear me? Hello. Double checking. Can you still hear me all right? Eman says all good.
hello?
I think it's just you.
Oh, I think
Can um
can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because you were like really coming in and out, like the connection was really bad. But I
Oh,
think
okay.
you seem to be back. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Sorry.
good. So yeah, well, we it was weird that happened just when I was like mentioning the news. But yeah, it's actually very quick news. We're opening the Extra Mile course for enrollment in about a week, so on the 8th of July. So the doors for the course, the Extra Mile, is going to be opening to receive the third cohort of students. So really exciting. Looks like it's going to be the last opening of the year, because towards the end of the year, I'm going to get really busy. So we're hoping to get this one out of the way soonish. So really excited about it. But that's not even half of the best news. The best news is that the master himself, Gio, is going to be joining us as well in the Extra Mile. So he's going to be creating some dedicated lessons of 3D modeler within the context of the course and how we work on setting up the forms and blocking a thing. So that's going to happen later down the track. We don't have a date for it, but anyone that joins this cohort of students, anyone that joins the course is part of the Extra Mile family. So once we update the course eventually with Gio doing the lessons and the dedicated module, anyone will get that for free as well. So yeah, very excited to announce that. I think it's like one of the biggest announcements that the course had since we launched it. So I'm really happy for that.
Yeah, I'm
And
excited. Yeah.
cool. So with that out of the way, maybe we can just jump into the quick demo that you had prepared for us.
All right. So I'm going to go into VR mode here. Hold on.
Amazing. And guys, by the way, while Gil sets up the VR, let us know in the comments or in the questions if you have anything that you wanna share. If not, remember this is going to be recorded, or after you can email me or reach out to me on social media if you have any questions. All right, there we go. That's Kudu.
Cool. Hey, look familiar here. So you've done such an amazing job in blocking out your creature here that I thought it would be a great idea to do a version of this creature, say maybe from a different tribe, or not on the same tribe but a different kind of character. And I was thinking maybe it'll be fun to do sort of like an older version, like one of the elders of
Nice.
the group, right?
Right.
So I figured, okay, let's start off with the non-destructive primitives really quickly here.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at your design here, I think there's some really cool stuff we could do. So I'm in VR right now, so I'm just wanted to kind of show the reference images.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of like putting your beautiful work all around here. You could load in hundreds. Well, I don't know, maybe I don't know how much I've loaded, but it seems like hundreds, and I would just kind of like literally blast it all over my
Right.
environment. And it's great. It's like you can have like an IMAX wall of images.
Yeah, that's setting up a new project with the reference images for me is like one of the coolest things because I feel like I'm in Minority Report or something. I can
Yeah,
just put screens all around me, and it
really.
feels like really futuristic.
Yeah, you're kind of like boom. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to throw it away, but like what Tom Cruise does. So let's go ahead and start messing around with the properties. I don't know why it's not giving me the properties. I think there may be, I've encountered a bug with this bit. Oh, here it is. So just kind of like what you've done beautifully here is this is exactly as how I would think about characters is, and
Mm-hmm.
I have other videos that kind of talk about this. I don't want to take too much time on it, but my philosophy with sculpting or anything, where I'm constructing something, maybe characters or hard surface, is always through the hierarchy of forms, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what you've done here, you've done the primary and secondary elements, and then making it a lot more organic. So I go through the same steps of doing that. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to find the primary form of what this elder creature is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of Modeler for me really is it's going back to the first question, is it for hero assets or non-hero assets?
Mm-hmm.
The strongest use for me is conceptualization, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm here kind of just and for that, let's just go ahead with clay. I was going to do non-destructive primitives, but let's just go at it and do some clay pushing and pulling. So let's the way I start usually is I give it sort of like a warm clay look, maybe increase the roughness a little bit, symmetry. So always usually start off, I usually do with a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
So then from there, I'm kind of like, okay, so, and, like really with having very little idea of what I'm going to be doing, I'm kind of just in there in VR, pushing and pulling. So let's see, maybe, for this, that's a cylinder,
Yeah. Okay.
similar to what you have. So I'm going to do a new clay layer. So it's all separate.
Mm-hmm. How
And
do you
let's
know
just,
when you have something separate? Because for me, when I go into a new layer, it sort of like makes everything darker, everything else. So I know that okay, I'm
so
editing.
I turned off that mode. So
Ah,
that's,
okay.
it's just intuition. Cause for me, I didn't want to, cause like that mode you were talking of is
Mm-hmm.
the default of Modeler. If I'm say on on this layer would be slightly darker just
Right.
so
Right.
Modeler can kind of tell you you're in a new layer, right?
Yeah.
I turned that off because I want to see it for what it is. And
Of
I've just
course.
been
Yeah.
so used to working with Modeler in a way that is, kind of
Yeah. Like a holistic way, almost like the
yeah,
whole.
like
Yeah.
you're because it allows me to see it from a, yeah, like what you said, a holistic standpoint, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, but that's a mode you can get in and out of. So for the individual eye forms right here, I'm gonna
Hmm.
turn off symmetry, and I'll tell you why really quickly here. Pretty soon is, so let's see. I'm gonna put it there. So I'm gonna turn that into a link geometry.
Oh, I see where
Yes.
you're going. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. All
This
right.
is good.
So, all right. You see exactly where I'm gonna go with this one. Um, and we'll just leave it there for now. I'm just kind of like, using this, and what y'all aren't seeing is, this is, I'm traversing the selection of these different layers, keeping it separate through the thumbstick up and down. So when
The
I
scoping in and
hold it
out.
up, yeah, scoping in and out.
Hmm.
So I just want to, I'm not even going to worry too much on the back because
You
for
won't see
time.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I did here was I just literally duplicated this cylinder, and I just kind of pushed it again. I selected this one. I'm gonna just duplicate it, that, because once you have the certain amounts of geometry in the scene, you can kind of just duplicate what's there and kind of push it
Repurpose
into
it. Yeah.
place. Yeah. So this one, I'm gonna do an erase for the mouth.
Oh, now I get it. I thought that was like part of the neck.
No, I think
Look at
this will
that.
be the. So I'm kind of thinking of a long, elongated face, right? So
Amazing. Yeah.
maybe this one, duplicate that, kind of start bridging, the upper and lower part into sort of like start adding the muscles, the zygomatic muscle, then the mouth. Maybe it's got an underbite.
Oh man, I could watch you do this like for an entire day. This is like mesmerizing. Just like how how quickly you just block that out, and it already looks cool as a with the proportions and everything. That's
Oh,
amazing.
thank you. I'm glad, man. Thank you. I mean, this is based off of your design, so I want to do it justice.
Well, it's just
um,
just improving it is always it's a good thing. I think like you know in a way that I teach it in the extra mile, I think a lot of the things that I mention is like what's the phrase like you stood on the shoulders of giants or something, where basically I'm not coming up with anything new necessarily. I'm just like repurposing something that is like is being used for a long time, and the way that you set up the shapes and everything, that's kind of like the same thing I do in ZBrush. And originally that was my original idea of bringing you on board on the course, because it sort of like resonates with what you do in VR and with Modeler. It resonates with what I do as well in ZBrush, trying to establish the main shapes, the forms, um, the primary, secondary, with like very simple shapes, and then working on the transitions on how you blend those primaries and secondary shapes to create something
mhm.
that feels unified and cool as well. So it's I think it's the way that you create these things obviously is a lot faster, and the yeah and the design itself, I love it. So it's very very close to how I block things myself in VR, sorry, in ZBrush, and now what I'm trying to do
Mhm.
in VR as well.
Yeah, no, it goes hand in hand. Because I think like there's definitely different philosophies when it comes to creating a character, right? There's the more, like, I think what we're used to, what I was used to, is the sort of what do you call it? Like the more surface based. You start
Like,
off with a
yeah.
ball, and then you're using build up and damp standard and the move tool or warp to build up the build
Hmm.
up kind of methodology, which I still do. But with the emergence of VR, especially with Medium, back in the Medium days,
Hmm.
is really when I started the more layer based approach.
Yeah. Okay.
Because this is exactly what I try to do in the classic olden days of build up phase, right? I'm always thinking about primary, secondary, and tertiary
Hmm.
as I'm building it up, even though it's like one surface. But now that I'm able to do it in different kind of layers like this, non-destructively, it's been sort of like the most liberating way to do something, because this has always been the philosophy that was taught to me by
Hmm.
I would always credit Carlos Fuente, who really
Yeah.
um, kind of ingrained this way of thinking with
Hmm.
shapes for me, right? So yeah, this is exactly sort of what I was trying to achieve before with the ZBrush, but now with VR, it's like, as you can see, and I'm just not even concerned about, because this allows me to not think about surface detail, and
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
most I think disruptive, because that's the most fun, surface detail, but that's also uh, it
The
doesn't
easiest.
allow you to, yeah, it's the easiest, so you don't focus on the important stuff, which is
Uh-huh.
like the design of the bigger forms, right? Like
Yeah.
this. I'm just kind of purely looking at shapes, and I could be in this for like the longest time too.
Hmm.
um, and that's fine, right? I'm not even thinking about, oh, what type of flesh will this what type of skin detail
Yeah.
will this character have. I'm just there, kind of like looking at the balance of all the shapes.
And that thing that you just mentioned is, I think, going back to that original question that we had in the stream about whether this is for hero assets or not. I think the principle of what Gio just said is kind of like the main thing for a hero asset, because you want to focus on that, on the proportions and the primary shapes, how you, let's say if it is for a game, how you read that silhouette in the smaller screen, and that sort of thing. And that's where I think
Exactly.
this whole thing is amazing.
Exactly. So I think as a production artist, we're always thinking of like hero, or I don't really don't care about like what is hero or
Yeah.
not, because I what I care about is the design. And I think once I stop thinking like a production artist, which is like, oh, is this a hero? How,
Yeah,
topology, blah
or
blah blah.
show me the
It doesn't
wireframe.
matter. Yeah, this is exactly what I think artists should be focusing on, in terms, outside of like the production realm. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying, right? Like, obviously that the you know hero, how close to the camera, all that stuff is important. But if we're talking about your personal work and growth as an artist, you know, what
yeah,
is a hero? What is a hero asset, really? If you want to be philosophical about it, like,
yeah.
hero asset is what? Like, what is the intention of your practice? Is that the most important, like how hero it is, or is it like you kind of getting used to like seeing things in balance and harmony,
Hmm.
with communicating design in the least amount of shapes, but kind of still be able to kind of communicate the character. That to me is what I'm always striving for. Not to say that I'm successful, but it's like that is the most important thing for me, not like production minded things, because production, I could always do that at work, like I've
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that'll
absolutely.
be defined by work schedule and all that stuff,
And the
like.
restrictions as well that you'd have, and that sort of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Yeah. And yeah, like I
um,
said, like what is a hero asset? is
yeah,
it
what
is
is?
it is it memorable? I think that's for me like the main thing. Is it appealing? Is it memorable? And I
Mhm.
think you achieve those things through what you just mentioned, like harmony, the balance of shapes, and ultimately that's what the primary and secondaries are for. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's become sort of a nice question, I feel like. What is a hero asset that we can kind of
Hmm.
like hone in on, and kind of talk with, philosophically, because it's like, maybe a hero asset is irrelevant when you're thinking about your practice, right? Like,
Yeah.
So what I did was I selected just a few of the shapes and merged them, so I can start. Now that I was kind of like, okay, it's kind of looking like something. I start merging them and start like going to my surfacey tools and start putting like maybe like the double chin or whatever, like the more secondary shape breakups.
Yeah.
And what's great about this is, I'm in this main head layer. I can duplicate that again because I'm lazy, and
I
I'll
think
just
if you could just look down a little bit more, because yeah, there we go.
like that. Oh, okay.
Yep, all good.
Oh, there. I'll just lift this up a little bit too. So what I did is I duplicated the
Sorry, I
main
think
skin.
sorry, it kept scrolling, so
Oh,
now it's there we go. There.
oh, there.
When you moved it, keeps scrolling. So now we're
Oh
just seeing
no.
that. No, it's moving up. I should have not said
Geez.
anything.
That's good feedback to know, because that should not be doing it.
Yeah,
And please let me know if it's kind of like
it's kind of like
going
getting there. Perfect.
there.
There.
Okay, I'm gonna stick here.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Great.
I'm just using the duplicated geometry to add further like tension. Kind of like
Oh, that's a great tip. So that's exactly the same bit that you merged together, right?
yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm like overlapping, and with a fairly big warp tool with a low setting, it
Mm-hmm.
makes it feel very much like clay,
Okay.
right? So I'm kind of just like, oh, hopefully this doesn't drift. So
Now
I'm
this
just kind of
perfectly
like,
framed now.
okay. So as you can see, I'm already kind of like starting to add the tension. And
Mm-hmm.
then, the benefit of doing the link geometry, obviously, is, like
Yeah, that's so cool.
start doing this, right?
Adding the fat deposits and
Yeah, the fatty deposits, which I love.
yeah, that to me is the
Maybe,
best, the funnest bit.
maybe it's like this, kind of like that. Um, and then maybe like say on this one, oops, there's some like, I don't know, some fun bits you can, kind of start like some loose
Right.
flesh, like maybe like, when they get older,
Some
like
protrusions that flap
kind of
around.
like flappy, like, the chicken
Yeah.
fleshes of like, and then you can
Oh,
give
you
even
just added a new dimension to the whole race of this character. Because I sort of like use a lot of like turtles and lizardy type of things to build it, but a chicken is welcome as well as a,
oh yeah, yeah.
as a reference.
Which maybe dinosaur based, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but this is like what you're doing at the moment. Even though like you kind of like follow, I don't know, like you're trying to make him look part of the race, which is that's what's happening. But at the same time, like designing like new, exploring the design basically, because it's like
Yeah.
not copying anything. And I think that's like one of the best things I found in Modeler, that you can explore a lot of things and capitalize on potentially any mistakes or anything
Hmm.
a lot faster. So for when I was designing the character, my character for the extra mile, this kudu guy, like I made a mistake in ZBrush, and I just mirrored and welded the teeth. I started with like normal human teeth, and I mirrored
Hmm.
and welded with local symmetry. So that gave me the
Hmm.
error of the single front teeth.
Hmm.
Um, like the tooth that is right in the front. So I was like, oh, that looks cool, and I'll
Yeah.
just dynamesh that and continue from there. So I think in VR with Modeler, these type of like little mistakes that you might encounter when you are designing or figuring out a design is like, all right, this looks cool. Let's do more of this.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's I'm gonna delete everything because I have a pre-made one. We can start off with, but that's exactly what you were saying is exactly the one of the
Amazing.
powerful things about Modeler is you're just able to really kind of go with the flow,
Hmm.
right? Like yeah, you're just kind of like going with the moment. I always like to say. So this was sort of like an attempt that I had done previously. I figured
That's
for the
great.
sake of time, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit lower on the framing, just tiny bit.
Oh man,
There. All good.
there we go.
Yeah.
So what I want to do with this one is give it some hands. So did an arm here, and
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
maybe like it's kind of just like we don't even probably need the upper and lower arm. Maybe just a hands, kind of convert this into
Some kind
a
of priest.
yeah, sort of like or like a villain kind of not maybe
Right,
not.
right. Just an elderly
Yeah,
person.
just an elder person kind of with an alien hand, but this hand is composed of sort of like a hierarchy with a series of linked geometries. So I'm still working on the actual anatomical hand. It's actually
Hmm.
a whole body, but it's a series of linked geometries, kind of like what I showed you with the house, right? Like the windows
Yeah,
were a
okay.
series of linked geometries. So all of these are linked. So as you'll see later, when I modify one joint, it updates on the rest of the
Hmm.
fingers. But it's kind of, let's give it some.
It's a little bit lower
So,
again.
oh, sorry. Ah, all right. So this
There.
camera mode needs some work. So
Oh, so and how do you so I think you have like different sizes for like the pinky and
mhm.
the index. If they are linked geometry, don't they change the size as well?
That's the beauty of it,
Ah,
right? So even though they have different scale values, the link is still retained
that's
essentially.
amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, I could literally, like just take, say, give it some kind of, I don't know, let's just give it some sort of finger. Um, I always try to think of something weird, maybe
Yeah, please do something weird.
sort of like a, sort of like that. So as you can see, like it's relative to the.
Yeah, I cannot see it. It's a bit lower again.
Oh, geez, yeah, there we
There.
go. Yeah.
Oh, good. It keeps panning up.
Let me see if there's a different mode. This is getting annoying. First person. See, first person
Oh
switches to.
no, we see the
There we go.
there we go.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is. I definitely will give this feedback to the team because it should not be doing that.
it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, but this technique is fantastic. Like this is another golden nugget in terms of like how you set up something up. And what you said about the size that retains the size. Oh, sorry, the link, but the size can be different. That is because you have different groupings as well. So you just scale the entire, like let's say the entire finger is part of one group, right? And that's the
Yeah.
one that you can scale. All right.
Yeah. So on the top node of this finger, this linked finger is I did the link on the top group. So if I
Hmm.
scale it, and again, Anton and Joshua can probably describe it more. Like the scale is like it becomes sort of like its own thing. Now, actually, I just went inside that group and kind of
Yeah.
started
Okay.
scaling. It's still individual, which is really
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess what I just said is not was wrong. Um,
Well, if
but
it
yeah.
if it is a bug, it's a good bug to have. Don't change it.
Yeah, I know. Watch it just be a bug and not a feature. Yeah, so kind of like giving it some alien hand. Maybe.
Again, it's out of screen a little bit.
Uh, Sorry.
And we just added because there was someone asking the questions. Just check out this screen. We just added the QR code. That's the link for the beta That is, as long as you have an account, it is free, right?
An Adobe account. So all of the descriptions are in. They should be on that page.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't know if I have the latest information on all that stuff. I'd rather the page
Yeah. Fair
copied
enough.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All
So
good.
in this version, I pretty much collapsed everything. So I lost all of the link. I just like started committing to it. Like, okay, I'm just gonna start.
Hmm.
You know,
Also, you
sculpting
also
on this.
link the eyeballs as well.
Yeah. I
Okay.
just merged it accidentally. Actually, I should have kept the eyeballs separate links,
Yeah. Okay.
which we could still do, you know. But yeah, right now he's like
Hmm.
one collapsed creature, and this is where I just, you know, would kind of go in there and start
Yeah. Very nice.
adding all the, you know, that sort of Rick Baker makeup effects
Hmm.
kind of stuff, the goodness, the fun stuff. And again, with the, am I still? Yeah,
Hmm.
checking. We have two modes. So I was in hand placement mode for, say, this the pinch crease, or I could be in surface placement mode, which is also cool,
Hmm.
and it feels really good. It's more like an airbrush, right?
Is that the one that is sort of like attached to the normal?
Yeah, so it's almost yeah, it's a laser pointer to the normal, and
Okay.
whereas the other version, it's attached to your tip, so it's almost like a tool, like a Kemper tool for sculpting versus a like a laser pointer, you know,
Hmm.
kind of.
So with the other one, you can, like, if you push it in, the geometry will be harsher, the transitions.
Yeah, I think there's
Mhm.
more control, most likely.
Okay.
So because I have lazy or pressure and steady on, that's why there's a delay. But
Yep.
yeah, so it's especially with the
Okay.
warp tool. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha. Do you use much
Um,
the other one? Like because I've used more than the warp tool, that one.
this one,
Yeah,
this
the
one's
last big one.
great. Yeah, this is great for. It's a different, I guess, algorithm, to
Hmm.
use an engineer term. It uses, I believe, the Kelvin-Litz algorithm, which is, I think, what was used in, remember in Finding Nemo 2, the octopus. Let me demo it. It kind of has a different, like, it's a really cool.
Oh, we cannot see it. It's too low. There.
Yeah, so it has a different vibe of it
Okay.
redistributes the transference of volume in a way that is different from, this is the regular warp tool. It's more localized, right? So this
Yeah.
is the
Okay.
regular warp tool, and this is the elastic, which treats it like an elastic.
Right.
Oh, which reminds me, I want to show that the spline tool, or the water balloon
Ah.
tool
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah. So hopefully it's, yeah.
Yeah.
So
This
this
is
is
the tailor
the,
one.
yeah, you can adjust the profile, or the tip,
Hmm.
or like how, you know, the nature of how it is. And then what I like to do is you know, say around this lip, maybe yeah, do it like this. I don't know why it's not in mirror mode, but yeah, so that's this mode.
Yeah. That tool is it's amazing.
Yeah, it feels really good in VR, because you can just literally say, am I still on the screen? Yeah, I'm on the screen. You know, kind of, you know, want to add an eyebrow or something, or any muscular forms. Like what I just did here, I wouldn't
Hmm.
stop there, right? Like these are sort of like landmarks for further form that and that's the beauty of working in layers, is, you know, you can create a new layer, say, you know, like this area right here.
We cannot see that. Too low.
Okay, here we go.
There.
So,
Sorry.
oh yeah, no, please keep. So I'm always thinking about the weight of the form, right?
Hmm.
And if we analyze this area, like where is the weight? I'm imagining all of this is pushing down on this, so there's a bulge there.
Hmm.
So for this one, let's put the apex in the middle, and I would still kind of like, and maybe this is just me being obsessive compulsive, but I would continue to do this, like with all of this stuff. I wouldn't leave it as like
Right.
just channels. I would just actually continue to put forms in there, because then
Yeah,
what
that's
this will
awesome.
do, and I'll show it to you in a second.
Like the definition is greater than just carving it in.
Yeah, because you're adding, since you're adding form, the nature of how they interact with each other and the light and the shadow is amped up, versus like this for me feels like an emboss, right? Like
Right,
Photoshop
right.
emboss. Now you're deciding to go, okay, what should be what should we bring forward and what should we recede, right? So
Hmm.
this one I'm stretching because I'm thinking there's a stretch of the skin here. This one I'm actually bulging out a little because of the compression. So, there's a lot of those things that you can start adding in. And I mean, this is exactly what, clay sculptors do, from what I've studied. Like it's like they
Adding
add
and
like little,
subtracting. Yeah.
yeah, they add little dabs of clay. And then, oops, am I still on? Yeah, I'm still on. And then, once I'm happy with that,
Sorry, the
uh,
the camera kept scrolling when you moved it. There we go.
yeah. So once I'm happy with that, I'm gonna merge it. It's a little slow for some reason.
Is it the resolution?
It shouldn't be. I think I'm just. Oh, here we go. I just kind of jumped into 98, 99%.
All right.
So once all that is merged together, then I'll knock down the strength and just kind of selectively smoothing out,
Right.
certain areas, retain this sort of, maybe like keep that
And this
smooth and
is, I
retain.
mean, I think some people might say that, oh, this is like detailing already, but I personally think this is not a detail. Like this is you're still figuring out the secondary forms, like how
Yeah,
all these bumps interact with each other to describe that large portion of the lip, right?
exactly. Exactly. So this isn't surface detail for me is the noise that you add.
Yeah.
You drag an alpha stamp with skin text. That to me is surface detail.
Right.
This is still form. And I'm when I'm doing this, I'm still paying attention to there's a form here, there's a form here, there's a form here.
Hmm.
If I were to kind of work on this segment right here, I would make sure that it would not be as high detail as this area, because that's where all the weight is. I would make sure
Right.
that the forms, the layers that I put here are flatter so that it doesn't noisy up everything. So still thinking, and the great thing about adding that is like, okay, now it feels like old person skin. It has
Yeah.
gravity, it has weight. So if I were
Some
to do
memory falls.
exactly, if I were to do that head to toe on this, I would just continue to, like start doing it all over and making sure. And it's going to take longer, but again,
But it's fun.
it's fun, and I'm not thinking of, well, is it going to be hero or it's just it's improving my eye, my philosophy. I'm not thinking of it as like in terms of measuring it with oh, it's going to take longer versus if I use a stamp, because it's my personal work, right? It's not a
Yeah, yeah.
production model. So
But even
um,
even for production, I think what you said is really important to highlight. And again, this is one of the things that I cover in the sculpting process in the extra mile, which is design with a story. So the whole the fundamentals of the designs is just think about the story of the character, and that what you mentioned about the old skin, that also plays a part in what that story is, because it's like, all right, this guy has been through a lot, or it's, you know, an
Mhm.
older person. And even if you have like a very simple story, you can justify whatever changes you make in your design as you're exploring it. And I think that's like really, really, really valuable to have something as a background while you decided. And like you said, don't think about the whether this is a hero asset or is for production, because you know that puts a restriction into what you're developing if it is your own design.
Yeah.
I think so. It's great to see it like live and in such a great way with VR.
Yeah, exactly. And I love what you said. It puts a restriction. You know, you don't want to put any label or restrictions on any work that you do, right? It's just you know, it's your own precious moment to really explore and kind of
Mm.
just get better as an artist. But yeah, no, that's I'm gonna take off my headset really quick.
Yep. Now that's awesome, man. I really appreciate you taking the time explaining all these things, because even for me, you know, I haven't been playing with these for too long, but what I've seen is just amazing, and all the tips and tricks, and you know that sculpting philosophy of like thinking about the weight and all of that. That's, you know, it's always reassuring, at least that I'm doing kind of like something right, seeing that the way that you do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's great, and yeah, they looks amazing. um, how long did it take you to get to this point? Just in the same way that you block it out last with the previous one. It's about like 20
Um,
minutes.
this one I think was about uh, 30, 30 to 35 minutes, I believe. Because I
Yeah,
was
it's
timing
really
myself to if I in case I were to do it from scratch, but I was like, nah, let's just, you know, it's already seven, you know, seven
yeah.
whatever, and then modeler's like doing the camera thing. So I just kind of wanted to skip into this directly.
No, that's great, man. So I'm conscious about the time, so we've been about an hour and a half at it, and
Hmm.
I feel like we've been for longer with all the tips that you gave us. But um, yeah, so I think if you're okay with it, we can just jump into a quick Q&A if
Yeah,
there's like specific questions that you might want to answer.
of course. Yeah, let's go to Q&A
Um,
mode.
all right, cool. Let me just see which questions we have in here. So by the way, guys, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Um, I'm checking Instagram and I'm checking YouTube as well. Cool. So there's a couple of like specific questions that maybe it's not the right time to ask, like how to do like swirly things. That's like too specific.
Mhm.
Um, some people are asking like, do you feel dizziness in modeling for too long when you're using VR stuff? And on that question as well, which specific headset do you use?
Okay. Nope, I don't feel any dizziness. And I think the reason for that is your camera is attached to your head. You know, it's
Yeah.
not doing anything on its own. And I think now, from what you guys were seeing in the Steadicam, that's only for you guys, right? Like it was kind of like doing its own
Right. Right.
thing. But in from my vantage point, it was still locked. So you only get I mean, for me, I get dizziness if it's attached and the camera's moving and I have no
Hmm.
control over it. But saying that other people may encounter dizziness, I don't really know. But for me, no. And the headset that I use is the Meta Quest 3, which
Okay.
is, I would highly suggest to get that one with the
Okay.
link to cable that attaches to your desktop because it's modeler runs on desktop, so you need the link cable with the
Hmm.
Meta Quest 3.
Awesome. With on that note as well, I remember when I first got into VR, Model it wasn't a thing at the time. I think it was Medium before that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So I started playing around with that. I think with the HTC Vivo. Anyway, it was a good headset, but like three or four cables attached to the computer. Like it was a bit messy. So I bought I don't know which one is this, so you might be able to tell me. A while back,
Oh, that's the Quest One, I think.
Quest One.
One or two? Oh, you know what?
Uh,
That's the two, because
might
Quest
be the
One I
two.
think was black. Yeah,
Okay, so I
black
have that
color.
one, and that it works perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I also use the link cable, but on that note of like if I experience dizziness with the previous one with the Vivo, I was super dizzy after like 10,
Uh-oh.
20 minutes. And then I was reading about it, and I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but the refresh rate on the Meta Quest 2 is closer to how like the normal vision, so that you don't get any blurriness or anything. So it feels
Mhm.
like normal. So I haven't experienced any dizziness with the Meta Quest 2. And I'm
Mm.
supposed that the Meta Quest 3 is even better. So
Oh
that might be
yeah.
a thing. Like if you experience that dizziness with the VR, it might have been that sort of refresh rate of the actual device, maybe.
Yeah, and the optics are getting so much better. Like the Quest 3 optics, like the resolution's better, and they have pass through, which you can see both
Hmm.
VR or CG and your actual environment.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
I think as the technology gets better, the closer it gets to your eyes, right? I mean, there's
Hmm.
headsets right now that are like thousands and thousands of dollars that are like, it's like literally as the resolution's as good as your eyes, right? It's like
Right.
reality. But not, you're not going to get that with a affordable consumer product like the Quest
Right.
9. But as the technology gets better, I think Quest at this stage, even, the Quest 3, I feel is like, I know a lot of people who have it, families, like people who aren't
Mm.
really artists, they just use that for like Beat Saber or whatever. And
Hmm.
it seems to be, working in a way that doesn't cause as much dizziness. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
definitely worth a try for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is an affordable thing. Like when you think about it, what you can do. I mean, I don't do games. I don't play. I do have a couple like tennis games and stuff like just for fun because it is very immersive at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But I use it for like modeler mainly. That's why I bought it for.
Hmm.
I use another tool that is completely different called Gravity Sketch. It's more like designy thing. It's really powerful, but it doesn't have that feel that I'm more familiar with, like modeler, because everything that you do in Gravity Sketch, you cannot combine it, like merge it. Every time that you do something is a new geometry.
Hmm.
But it's great to do like cables and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic tool to add to the arsenal of multiple tools that we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me ask a couple questions more because they're coming in now. What is the easiest software to learn and use for quick concepting for sculpting characters? Sandra is asking. Do you have like any tips on that in
What is
general?
the easiest software to learn and use for quick concepting for sculpting? Modeler, I think for me.
Exactly. As I was just
um,
waiting for that. That's true.
it really is. I mean,
Yeah.
in all seriousness, as hopefully what I've shown in this demo, just being in there using my hands,
Mm.
it's like Play-Doh is the only way I can really simplify it, right? It's like you're using your hands. It's the most Play-Doh way of
Hmm.
interacting with a digital surface.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's like others that's like really really awesome too. But I think for me, it's just nothing like being in a space
Yeah.
where I like to stand when I'm in VR actually, and I'm just there moving and going around the creation. Like
Hmm.
what's great is you're actually turning. You're not on
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
3D flat screen. You're in there in three-dimensional space, able to gauge and kind of just like go around and start pushing and pulling. And there's really that becomes such a fast process once you're able to take advantage of what is this, the X axis, whatever
Hmm.
the dimensional axis is,
Yeah. The y-axis.
the Y axis. Yeah. um it offers so much speed and just value to your how you're able to conceptualize something in your head to your hand.
Hmm. Yeah. That's I would say the same thing. Like as a when the question is like how easy it is, it's like anything else. Like you just get used to it, anything really. And once you get used to it, I think it becomes easier. Um, the advantage with that I see with 3D Modeler is it is how intuitive and how familiar everything feels once you start using. Like you said, like using your hands is like, if I want to make things larger, I just go like this, right? Instead of like figuring, oh, what is the scaling tool? So in that sense, I think it's the familiarity that the VR brings to the table that makes the software easier to understand and to get into it. And what you also mentioned at the beginning, or sort of at the beginning of the stream, that everything was kind of like built right with that idea in mind, that you want to be just creating stuff. You don't want to have all the distraction of the UI and that sort of stuff. So that also translates into how easy it is to pick it up. And obviously, you get the the more that you play with it, the at least that's my experience, the more that you figure out things on, like, oh, now you can do radial symmetry, awesome. But that is not like that's not something that you have to know to get started with. If you don't know that symmetry, the radial symmetry exists, you just duplicate things intuitively in a radial fashion, but then you discover that there is that tool. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And that's how I think most things come easily as you learn. So yeah, I don't know. that helps.
No, I agree.
Cool. All right, just a couple more questions, and I'll let you go. I know this is pretty late for you as well. I guess I can answer this one. Is there a version that supports the space mouse? So for those of you who don't know, this is a space mouse. Sorry, this one from 3D Connection. It's just like a very intuitive. 3D Painter uses it. I don't know if you have any knowledge that they're going to implement it or anything in Modeler, but at the moment, I don't think it's supported.
I can ask the team because I would love. I've heard a lot of good things about the space mouse.
Yeah.
For desktop, I want to be able, because when I'm doing like the hard surface non-destructive primitive style working, I think that's from what I understand that to be, that sounds like a really powerful way of working. So
yeah, absolutely. I think the advantage, the real advantage of these mouse is the fact that you have the same type of navigation regardless of the software. So going back to what we were talking about, like tools are tools, and you just use whatever you want to use. This is like a simple gadget that simplifies the switching between software, because you know that the up and down, the navigation, rotation is going to be the same regardless of any tool. So yeah, you just use that little thing to navigate ZBrush or Blender or a Substance 3D Painter. So that is fantastic for me.
One question I do have regarding the space mouse. Do I need to type it down? No, I'm kidding. Does that offer like dimension, like depth, or kind of like the VR equivalent of desktop? Like what is the main kind of draw for you of using the space mouse in terms of, outside of the stuff that you mentioned, but more of like the feel of it?
Yeah, this is the tricky bit with the space mouse, and it took me a while to understand it, right? Because you have that little knob thing in there. So when I used it, let me actually hang on. I will share my screen, and then I can show you.
Oh, you could always switch.
Hang on. So. Where's my camera? Share. Okay, cool. Eman, could you? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
All right. So with the space mouse, so originally what I thought this was for is like just to rotate things around. So I was just like doing this, right? Like rotating that little knob, which yeah, it rotated thing. But the way that it works, maybe this is not the best. Let's do an arrow.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it's like literally holding an object in your hand, and then if you push the object, it will just go further or back. So it's not rotating, it's just like literally taking this, I don't know if you can see, like pushing it back or up. Now it's like gone, but wait, made a mistake now. There we go. So yeah, I can rotate things around. So if I just move that knob like around, it will rotate
Mhm.
like so, or I can push the entire thing towards me or away
That's
from me,
really
and
cool.
then
Yeah.
left and right. So when you get used to that that way of navigating, like literally, if I were holding that 3D arrow in my hand and then just moving it like that, then I get this effect. So once you know
Wow.
how
Okay.
to use it, it's like really quick to just go, oh yeah, let's do something here, and then here at the bottom. So it is a lot more intuitive as well, and it's super smooth. So anything that
Mhm.
supports the navigation with this, I will highly recommend it. And they're actually, I'm testing something. Hang on. So I have this one, which is the Pro version.
Mhm.
But then they also have this new one that is fantastic. I'm actually going to be doing a little review of this one, which is exactly the same thing. Like the magic of it is the little knob. This one just
Mhm.
has a bunch of like tools or not tools.
Shortcut kind of
Yeah, buttons
things.
that you can tweak. But with this one, I'm using the tiny one now. It is the same
Mhm.
thing, the same process. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Wow. It's
And
like
if you
the
can
VR
implement it,
equivalent of it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to talk to Lydia. Hopefully, she agrees that this is especially for desktop, right? Because we already have the in VR. Obviously, you have the depth. This seems like it's the most VR
Hmm.
equivalent in desktop, where you
I
can
think
kind of
so.
just like No,
Yeah, I
that's
think so because
awesome.
it moves. I think the real advantage is that you don't have to do zoom in and out, then switch to another mode to do panning, then rotating. Is
Yeah,
everything happens at the same time, so it's like the same thing as moving in VR. So yeah, great. So
and it just
a,
works
a
in
full
ZBrush. Did you need to like set anything
Nah,
in
I mean
ZBrush?
you can
No.
tweak it if you want to,
Yeah.
but it just
Okay.
works. It has supports for in their website. They have like a list of everything. So right now it works with Character Creator. Like all the tools that I use, it works except Modeler so far.
Oh,
And
okay.
I
So you have
think
tried it in Modeler. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It
I've tried
doesn't.
it in Modeler
Okay.
because Substance Painters uses. I use that in Substance Painter a lot. So
Okay.
to do like details and stuff, it's just like you can clear the entire canvas and go like full screen, start painting and working on those details as you rotate with the mouse. So it is fantastic.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
okay. You
awesome to have
convinced
a.
me, man. Yeah.
This is the advantage of like inviting you in. You can do the request on our behalf.
Yeah. I for sure, and I want to try that just in general with all the apps I use. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be like it's kind of like life changing
Hmm.
when you do like get into it with the tools that you have in desktop. It feels like very intuitive. And like I said, if you use a bunch of different tools that you know I use Blender, and the navigation in Blender is way different than the navigation in ZBrush, than the navigation in Painter. So this unifies everything because you don't need to
Yeah.
remember the shortcuts. So it's like the same tool.
Yeah. Sure.
Cool. All right, a couple more questions, guys.
Yeah.
This one is a good one from Comics Legend. In your day to day, that's for you, Gio. Your day to day job, do you stay in the concepting phase, or do you also do more of the production side of your, or do you hand off your concept sculpts to the production ready? So basically, what's your process in your day to day?
Yeah. Since my group within evangelism, which is led by the awesome Wes McDermott, I always have to give him props because he's amazing.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
So visual development, the group that I head up is under evangelism. So we're
Mhm.
tasked with doing a lot of the more sort of say there's a project for GDC. We do
Right.
the concept to production. Since myself and Casimir Perez is this highly awesome artist that I work with, we both have production background, but also are able to kind of get in there and
Hmm.
conceptualize the project. Like seeing what Wes thinks and the whoever else, and then do the mood boards, do some maquette concepts, and then take it all the way to production.
Right.
So, and given that my experience in the past has sort of been both. Like I was like art department as well as production in
Hmm.
my time before Adobe. I'm able to kind of just like interchange between the two, and I love both. But I really love the more kind of like figuring out the design
Hmm.
side of things. That's sort of been my love, kind of like
Yeah,
honing in
I
that
think I share
design.
that.
Yeah.
I share that sort of passion of like figuring out of building ideas, building worlds, and
Yeah.
it's more fun than worrying too much about the how the UVs are going to look like. Let someone else
UVs,
worry about that.
topologies, which are important. All that's
Yeah, yeah.
important, especially if you want to optimize your flow in the pipeline. But yeah, that's
Mm.
just I've been doing that for so long that
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah,
Oh,
it's good.
that reminds me. There was a question. I think I missed it, but someone was asking about. Um, yeah, I think I missed it, but it had to do with the. Oh, here we go. Do you think that modeling needs some manual retopology and UV tools within Modeler?
Oh, if there are, yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Or if it
So
needs it. Mm.
if there's an export in Modeler, essentially the export you could, it's pretty robust. You could set your export settings to quad, to decimated triangles. You could adjust the amount, and it does UVs, auto UVs. We're still working on making the tools there better, but like the project that we did for GDC, that was all just exported out through Modeler essentially with I believe it was a mixture of the try export, which is very similar to Decimation Master in ZBrush.
Okay.
Like it
Yeah.
decimates it in a very
Triangulated.
smart way. Yeah, or quads. So so it's not just SDF. You can in the end it exports out to FBX, OBJ, USD as polygonal data.
Yeah, and I've tried it myself, and I could say that it's pretty nice, the geometry that spits out. In fact, I don't know if it changed much, but in the beta version, I tried it, and it's like a really clean topology. So I did a live stream a few weeks ago with a friend of mine about 3D printing, and I did a crab in Modeler just to test.
That's
like
a cool crab.
stuff.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is like fully done, set up in Modeler, following the same techniques that you share online. So I had that, and I exported it to ZBrush to detail in ZBrush. But the base topology is exactly what I got from a model. I didn't do any retopology or any Z-remesher. It was a clean quad topology. I just added details and exported it for 3D printing and for like texturing. So the quality of like a quick concept asset is fantastic. Obviously, when talking about production, if you want to animate it or have something that is going to be stretched in a different way, then it's a completely different monster. Topology for animation, but for concepting and something that can be done or used in 3D concepting is absolutely fantastic what you get.
Or even environments, like say a statue or a non-deformable asset. Let's say that's more kind of like ruins or whatever. It's perfect.
Yeah, and I think I haven't tried this myself, but it just thinking like the workflow, it could work if you export the raw mesh and a decimated or like a quad-based decimated version. You could use as your high poly and low poly in 3D Painter to bake, let's say, all those details into a low poly mesh.
That's what I use actually. That's a workflow that I use is export out the high raw mesh, and then like I actually like triangles instead of quads for more kind of organics because I don't know why, but yeah, so a lower mesh of that resolution, and then the high raw, and then I spit out or I bake it in Painter.
Yeah, sweet. Now, I think very, very exciting thing. But I don't want to take more of your time. I think it's absolutely fantastic, everything that you showed us. So I think we're going to leave it here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll do our best to put this up or make it available soon as a recording, in case you want to, I'm for sure going to go back and check all the tips that we got along the way. So yeah, Gio, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been fantastic.
Oh, no.
And
thank you.
Very excited.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And just before we go, in case you were not here for the big news, just very quickly, the Extra Mile course is opening in a week. So on the 8th of July, here we go. So it is going to open on the 8th of July for the third time and probably the last time that I'm going to open the course this year. And if you were not here, Gio is going to be joining us to creating some dedicated lessons about 3D Modeler and how to incorporate that into the workflow. That is, we don't have a set date because obviously busy man, but it is coming. So once we have that, I will let you know. So as soon as you or as long as you are part of the Extra Mile, any update that we do to the course is free. So if you join this coming cohort of students with the new cohort of students, you will have access to that eventually. So yeah, once again, man, thank you so much for taking the time, and hopefully we can do that again soonish.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you so much, guys. That's it from me. Thanks to Gio, and we'll try to put this up as soon as possible. See you guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.